Welcome everyone. My name is P.Mccain, and hopefully I will be able to show you the proper way of using the biographical method, using the narrative form of it. We will be dissecting the passage Luke chapter 15, and the first section of it is the birth and early life of the author and or the person involved, which in this chapter we actually have two different people. We have Jesus and we have Luke, who is the scribe or the background character who's actually writing all of this information down. So we're just going to jump into it. To understand chapter 15, you have to understand the whole book of Luke. And to best understand the wisdom that Jesus used for chapter 15, we understand that in chapter 2 of the book of Luke, 41 through 50, Jesus acquired wisdom and also was giving wisdom to the priests of the temple after the Passover. And we see here that Jesus also uses wisdom in chapter 15. I want to just show you a visual of what it might look like to see Jesus inside of the temple, and hopefully you could better understand the aspect of where Jesus was and what he was doing at the time. Now we have the conversion and relationship to God. We have, again, these two people involved inside of this situation, inside of this passage. So we have Luke himself. We will describe him, and we'll also describe what Jesus' relationship to God is and or conversion. So Luke is first because we'll just establish the author himself first. The author of this book, for this event of chapter 15, is a scribe of the events of Jesus. He's also a spectator and visitor, and he's also a servant and a willing vessel of God, to be used in this section as the scribe and also as a later on witness to attest to this situation. Now, the next person we have is Jesus. Now, of course, his relationship is quite intricate than Luke's is, because why? Jesus is the incarnate God in flesh, and also he is a part of the Trinity. So, thus, he will be God in himself, also in the flesh. So, also in this situation, Jesus is a willing vessel of the wisdom of God, allowing the using the parables to speak to the people and also be amongst them. We'll quickly jump into the ministry portion. The ministry that's involved here, you can actually kind of find two aspects of the ministry, which one would be Jesus using his parables and being amongst the people, fellowshipping with the people, and that thus bringing up the situation which we see in chapter 15, where the Pharisees and some of the scribes started to mumble behind Jesus' back, saying, oh, how can Jesus be a part of this fellowship when he knows that these people are sinners and saints? And thus what brings up the three parables, one of the lost sheep, two, the coin parable, and also three, the parable of the prodigal son. So I just want to give you another visual of what this situation might have looked like, with what the Pharisees might have looked like during that time, and some quick listings of what the separation between the saints and the Gentiles. And also, just to show you, in verse 3 through 10 shows the ministry of Jesus using his parables, which is a very complex parable of the lost sheep and also of the coin. And I believe that one of Jesus's ministries was to answer some of the questions that were on earth and to make the people think by using complex parables. In this next section, we're going to tackle the character and the relationship of Jesus Christ. I feel like they are a bit like they're parallel to one another, because they both result in the same situation. Jesus in this passage used humility to humble himself when, especially being in the position of Jesus Christ, he could have most definitely has said, I will not be amongst the sinners, but then that would totally eradicate his whole ministry here on earth. But yet he still used humility to speak to the people, to fellowship with the people, and also his relationship to the people was showing himself separate from all of the things of the world, but yet he could still be amongst the world and be amongst the people who are sinners and saints and not be affected by them. During this section also, while dissecting the scripture, you see that through verses 1 and 2, Jesus is putting aside the fact that he is amongst the sinners, and we recognize that because of the way that the Pharisees point out how Jesus is. I mean, just the mere fact that they noticed that Jesus was among saints and sinners shows, the humility and everything that was established there. I think that this is a very strong point because we can take from this section of the passage the fact that Jesus not only did he not say anything yet at this point, but he was a living example just by his actions. We will tackle this next section, death and epitaph, and we'll also jump straight into why the person is important, and in this case there's two people, why they are important to this passage. We have the death and the epitaph. This passage does not exactly explain the death of Jesus Christ, but through reading the whole book of Luke, you can actually see from birth till death the importance of who Jesus Christ is. So this specific passage, passage 15, does not describe, chapter 15, does not describe the death of Jesus, but of course, again, the importance of understanding the chapter is actually understanding the whole book in itself. So I do say or invite you to read the whole book of Luke. It's a very good part of the Synoptic Gospel, and it's a very important part of explaining Jesus' life and how he lived while here incarnate on earth. Luke, you actually have to do your own type of study for Luke, because the book of Luke does not clearly explain Luke's death, but also the book does. Looking into the book and everything, and actually doing your own studies, like the Bible Dictionary. I actually chose Smith's Bible Dictionary to find out when Luke might have passed away and or died. And Smith's Bible Dictionary actually says that it might have been estimated that he died between 75 AD and 100 AD. And it says that he might have actually most likely have died as a martyr for Christ. So again, I do say, I do encourage you to, do your own type of studies and everything for this, to understand Luke and also understand Jesus Christ. And the last portion again is why the person is important. Of course, we have two focal characters. We have Luke and we have Jesus. And Luke is very important to this passage. Why? Because he's described, and without him there would be no real book of Luke, of course. But the second person is most important, which is Jesus Christ. He is very important. Why? Because he is the reason. He is the very reason why this passage was written for, and why this passage is important. Because without him there, producing ministry and ministering to the people and actually shutting down the negative concepts and thoughts of the Pharisees, there would be no passage of Luke 15. So he's very important because also because he's a willing vessel of God, and through him he is an example of how we should be as Christians to the world, and the fact that we should not shun these people or shun sinners or shun those who might not be in the best of light with what we believe. Alright, so thank you very much for listening in, and I hope we had a better understand. You have an understanding of the the biographical method and the narrative section of it. God bless.